Welcome to Muslim Apologetics Australia. Is Jesus a slave of God? Christian polemics like to say that Islam is a false religion. It enslaves prophets. Allah has prophets who are slaves to him. In fact, Muslims themselves claim they are slaves of Allah. So they basically try to say, oh, Islam is an oppressive religion. They are just slaves of Allah. And people like Thomas Yeo makes these sorts of claims. He says, nowhere in the Bible, for example, is prophets referred to as slaves. Nowhere in the Bible are Christians referred to as slaves of God. And he says that we have failed to show where Jesus was a slave of God, as you can see in the comment just over here. As you can see here, Thomas writes to Babatunda. He says, you fail to show us that Jesus was a slave of God. Here is the verse from the Bible that explicitly calls Jesus a slave servant. Have a read. In Acts 3:26, Jesus a servant, slave. It says in a New International Version. Let's have a look. Here we have it. When God raised up his servant, he sent him the first to you, bless you by turning each of you from your wicked ways. That's Acts 3:26. Notice how the Bible translators put his servant. Let's now go and see what the Greek says for the word servant. By the way, if you go to any English dictionary, the term servant has slave in there. Have a look. Slave. Servant is in agreement with the term slave. Now here is from Strong Light Dictionary of the term pais. Pais is the actual word in the Greek. So what does it say? Well, it says that it means a child, boy or girl, infant or children. But it also means servant, and guess what, folks? Have a look. Slave. It also means slave. There you have it. That's from the Strong's Dictionary. Now, I know what Christian missionaries will do. They'll quote Romans 6:18 to say, the term slave is understood as the term edoliote, right? And they'll quote Romans 6:18. And they are right. Edoliote does mean you've become like slave. However, pais can be interpreted as slave as well as servant, as we've shown in the Strong Dictionary. You got to understand that a single word can have multiple meanings. So just because there are different pronunciations for the same meaning elsewhere doesn't mean that the same meaning doesn't suffice in another way of saying the same word in a different way. A good example of this is, we know that the term God, for example, it is the same meaning can be translated into different words, such as Elohim, God, Yahweh, and so forth. So you have many, Theos, for example. You have many different names that could mean the very same thing. So the next time a Christian wants to mock Islam and say, oh, you are all the peasant slaves of Allah, then show them this. Yes, Acts 3:26 has the term pais in the Strong Dictionary, showing it relevant to the word servant and slave. There you have it.